Thank you for joining us for the Mission Headquarters May monthly service to give thanks for all the blessings we receive and to pray for the resolution of the COVID-19 pandemic. We mourn the loss of life throughout the world and sincerely pray for those affected to recover quickly and swiftly. I know that for some, it is disappointing that we are not able to assemble and perform the service as Oyasama taught us. There may be some who feel healthy enough to take the risk of possibly catching COVID at church because they feel they could overcome it. However, when we are told that many people do not show symptoms of the disease as they are spreading it around to others, we absolutely cannot take the risk of service performers and worshipers spreading the disease exponentially to those around us. We do not want to be famous for being that church. So, I would like to thank the bishop for his excruciating yet courageous decision to perform the service with only those living at Dendocho. At the Hollywood Church, my family of 6 performs the service at 10 o'clock on Dendocho service days. After we found out that the roles being performed at Dendocho were 2 dancers, a singer, wooden clapper, and 2 women's instruments at a time, we tried to fill in the other instruments that are not being played. Even the children, ages 8, 11, 14, and 17, all understand how important the service is, especially at this time, and perform their roles throughout the entire service without whining or complaining. Some may wonder if people will ever return to church again in the way that we used to, now that there is a precedent that we are not assembling. It is true that people may feel hesitant to return for a while after the safer at home emergency order is lifted, and the elderly and those with pre-existing conditions may choose not to come to church in the high-risk seasons when the regular flu goes around. The way we see and interact with the world has changed forever. When I watch old clips of talk shows that aired pre-COVID, I cringe when I see celebrities blowing kisses to the audience and with that same hand shake the host's hand. Going back to the question of whether people will return to church, as for me, because we are performing the service from a distance, and I am thinking of how empty and lonely the prayer hall at Dendocho must be, I look forward all the more to be able to return to Dendocho and to have the honor of being able to perform the service again in full numbers. And for a secondary, but equally good reason, I want to return to church because I crave to see my church friends again and to talk to them in person. I know that my children are certainly looking forward to the day when they can do that. So, as we distance ourselves for the sake of those we hold close to our hearts, I cannot help asking myself, what is God's message through this pandemic? I looked into the songs for the service, one of our 3 main scriptures, and found these verses about illness. Song 2, verses 7 and 8. If you help others who are suffering, I will cut off the root of illness. Suffering comes in many different forms. This pandemic has really widened the divide for those who are vulnerable and brought to light the issues that really need to be fixed. Los Angeles Unified School District has been distributing breakfast and lunch to those in need. Before the lockdown, LAUSD was only feeding students in the schools, but now they are also offering food to the parents at their grab-and-go stations. And most recently, they are giving food to whoever comes, no questions asked. LAUSD has become the largest food distributor in California. Another form of suffering is mental health. There is a lot of stress, maybe more on the adults as we consume the news. The children are resilient. They play and laugh and heal each other. But they are not without stress either. One of my children has packed an emergency bag to run away with in case of some disaster like an earthquake or fire. The child's speech pattern and behavior has regressed, and they talk nonstop for 30 minutes to an hour before bed and has a hard time falling asleep. I talk about the good and funny things I witnessed that day, and we share what we are grateful for. How lucky our family is that I have not lost my job as a minister, and we live in a church that has no mortgage payments. How lucky we are that our church members have not lost their jobs, and they support the church, so we do not have to worry about our water, gas, or electricity being turned off. How lucky we are that the tenants living in the rental unit on the church property have a produce wholesale business, and they give us vegetables, eggs, and bread time and time again. I encourage you to call your church members, friends, and neighbors and check up on them. Help them see the silver lining. And through your conversation with them, you will be reminded of how blessed you are. Song 3, verse 8. There is nothing so trying as illness, so from now on, I too will devote myself to hinokishin. There are many forms of hinokishin. We can call our elderly and immune-compromised friends and see if they need help shopping. Many of you probably already do that. Or you could join a sewing group and make face masks for essential workers. May is a month that we typically conduct our annual hinokishin activities in North America, so let us go out into our neighborhoods and do what we can in a safe manner, with our masks on. Song 4, verses 7 and 8. Helping each other in any and everything, ponder over it from your innermost heart. All illness shall be completely rooted out, and step by step your hearts will become cheerful. The world is very interconnected. We need one another in order to survive, and people are realizing that those in professions usually taken for granted are actually very essential to our lives. They are the overworked and underpaid farmers, truck drivers, grocery store stockers and clerks, sanitation workers, mail carriers, teachers, social workers, and nurses, to name just a few. Let us verbalize our appreciation to these workers when we see them. Song 5, verses 2 and 3. Miraculous salvation at this place. I grant you safe childbirth and freedom from smallpox. God, the same as water, washes away the dirts from your minds. In the time when Oya-sama was physically present, smallpox was one of the contagious diseases that people were afraid of, especially in children. As with the grant of safe childbirth, one's state of mind is important in receiving protection. Using the metaphors of water and dirt, Oya-sama instructs us that we can use God's teachings to cleanse our minds. Song 10. The 3 remaining verses in the songs for the service that include the words illness are in Song 10, verses 8, 9, and 10. Though illness is so trying, no one has ever known its origin. Until this time, all of you equally have been ignorant of the origin of illness. This time, it has been revealed. The origin of illness lies in your own mind. Some people may ask, the people who contracted the disease, did their illness originate from the misuse of their minds? Though it is true that all of us are prone to using our minds in a mistaken manner from time to time, in thinking about this case and how this illness has affected the whole world, I personally think that it is not the individual, but the collective mind of humanity that is the cause of all this suffering. The Ofudesaki is another one of Tenrikyo's 3 main scriptures. In it, smallpox, measles, and cholera are mentioned. These 3 illnesses are very contagious and were feared around the time the Ofudesaki was written. The Ofudesaki Part 6, verses 109 and 110 speak about smallpox and measles. When Tsukihi has ascertained your mind's sincerity, know that I shall grant you every kind of protection. Your newborns shall be free from smallpox and measles. They shall live on without illness or death. The Ofudesaki teaches us that the mind's sincerity is important in being able to receive protection from such contagious diseases. Let me read verses 21 through 26 in part 14 of the Ofudesaki about cholera. Whatever I do to the body, it is not an illness, but the care of tsukihi. The world is saying that it is cholera, but it is tsukihi informing you of the regret. Everywhere in the world, people are the same. They only have depressed minds. From now on, firmly replace the mind and become the mind of joyousness. The reason tsukihi began human beings was the desire to see you lead a joyous life. Because the world does not know this truth, everyone sinks only deeper into depression. These verses surrounding the topic of cholera teach us about God's regret. God's regret is that the people of the world have depressed minds. Ofudesaki Part 14, verse 25 teaches us one of the most important concepts for people of the Tenrikyo faith. It is that God created human beings in order to see us lead a joyous life. In order to receive blessings from this pandemic, we must change our collective negative mindset into a joyous one. In the Ofudesaki, the word illness comes out 41 times, and disorder comes out 17 times. Of these 58 verses, 17 verses mention that the disorders of the body that we think of as illness is not an illness, do not exist, should not be called illness, and similar variations thereof. What, then, should we think of these disorders of the body? Ofudesaki Part 5, verse 20 instructs us, "These disorders are from my guidance, admonition, or anger. Ponder, each of you." Continuing in Part 5, verse 21 through 24, "What are your thoughts on hearing this talk? I appeal to you repeatedly out of my deep love for you. However I may express my admonition or anger, I shall never say that you will not be saved. Think of you humans admonishing your children. The anger too comes from love. Ponder and come follow me with firm resolve. There is a path of hope in the future." I find the Ofudesaki to be very uplifting. If one analyzes the 58 verses containing the words illness and/or disorder, one will learn about the necessity for all of us to sweep the dust from our minds, understand God's wish to gather useful timber and service performers, and we will hear God's call for our service. Time is a gift that we have now during this shutdown. Yes, we can take long walks, play board games with the kids, and bake bread. But let us also take advantage of this moment to study the teachings and nourish our faith. By doing so, as we slowly return to normal, I hope that as a faith community, our conviction in the teachings will have grown stronger and that we will be better equipped to help others live the joyous life. Thank you.